The world of extreme metal is usually associated with darkness and anger, so it came as a total shock when one of the most terrifying vocalists in the history of the genre revealed he prefers men. It completely flipped the script on what a metalhead looks like. From the godfathers of the genre to the new blood-keeping rock alive, these are the stories of the stars who are gay, bi, or trans. The singer at number 3 hid his secret for so long it nearly destroyed his faith. 1. Rob Halford. When you think of heavy metal fashion, you probably picture leather jackets, biker hats, and metal studs. It is the uniform of the genre, but the thing nobody tells you is that this look did not come from biker gangs. It came from the gay culture of the 1970s. The man responsible for bringing this look to the masses is Rob Halford, the lead singer of Judas Priest. He is known as the metal god for a reason. His voice can shatter glass, and his stage presence is unmatched. For decades, he led one of the biggest bands in the world, screaming hits like Breaking the Law and Painkiller. But while he was commanding thousands of fans, Rob was hiding a part of himself. During the 70s and 80s, the rock world was a very different place. It was aggressive and often not very accepting. Rob felt that if he told the truth, it might end the band. So he stayed quiet. He let the music speak for him. The crazy part is that he was wearing the clues right out in the open. He would go on stage in full leather gear, handcuffs, and whips. To the average metal fan, it just looked tough, but to those in the know, it was a clear signal. Finally, in 1998, Rob sat down for an interview with MTV. It was supposed to be a standard chat, but he decided he was done hiding. In a moment that shook the music world, he calmly stated that he was a gay man. The reaction was intense. While some people were shocked, the true metal fans rallied behind him. They realized that the man who defined their genre was part of the community. It was a massive turning point. It showed that you could be the toughest guy in the room and still love who you want. Rob Halford paved the way, but he was not the only legend dealing with fame and secrets. Our next icon was known for his flamboyant style and operatic voice, but his private life was a mystery that he guarded until the very end. 2. Freddie Mercury. You cannot talk about heavy rock without bowing down to Freddie Mercury. As the frontman of Queen, he was a force of nature. While Queen is often called a rock band, songs like Stone Cold Crazy are considered by many to be the very beginning of thrash metal. Freddie had a vocal range that was out of this world. He could go from a low growl to a high opera scream in seconds. He commanded the stage at Live Aid in 1985, holding the entire stadium in the palm of his hand. Despite his massive fame, Freddie was incredibly private. On stage, he was wild and colorful. Off stage, he was shy and kept to his close circle of friends. He never officially came out to the press in the way modern stars do. In the 70s and 80s, the British press could be very cruel. Instead, Freddie just lived his life. He had relationships with both women and men, but his long-term partner, Jim Hutton, was the love of his later years. They lived together quietly in London. The tragedy of Freddie Mercury is that his life was cut short by a terrible illness that was sweeping through the community at the time. He kept his diagnosis a secret from the public for years to protect his privacy and his bandmates. He only released a statement confirming his condition just 24 hours before he passed away in 1991. It was a heartbreaking end to a brilliant life. But his legacy is untouchable. He proved that a rock star could be flamboyant, theatrical, and heavy all at the same time. Freddie was a global superstar who everyone suspected, but our next artist is a bass player who is a hero to other musicians, yet he struggled with a deep internal conflict that kept him in the closet until he was over 60 years old. 3. Doug Pinnick. If you ask your favorite metal bassist who their favorite player is, there is a good chance they will say Doug Pinnick. He is the lead singer and bassist for the band King's X. They are a band that mixes heavy riffs with beautiful harmonies and a soulful groove. Doug has a voice that sounds like a mix of a gospel preacher and a metal screamer. But for a huge part of his life, those two worlds were at war inside him. You see, Doug grew up in a very strict religious environment. He was told from a young age that being gay was wrong. This belief went deep. Even as he became a rock star and toured the world, he carried this heavy weight. He spent years trying to pray it away or ignore it. It caused him a lot of pain and led to some very dark times in his personal life. He felt like he had to choose between his faith and his true self. It wasn't until 1998, around the same time as Rob Halford, that Doug publicly acknowledged his orientation, but the real breakthrough came later. In 2013, at the age of 62, he really opened up about his journey in a documentary. He talked about the relief of finally letting go of the guilt. It was a powerful message that it is never too late to find yourself. He is now celebrated not just for his incredible bass tone, but for his honesty. While Doug struggled with faith, our next star comes from the frozen north of Norway, where the music is dark, the churches are burning, and the vibe is pure evil. You would never expect a man from the black metal scene to be the one breaking barriers. 4. Gaal. Black metal is known for being the most extreme form of heavy music. It is fast, aggressive, and often deals with very dark themes. One of the most infamous bands in this scene is Gorgoroth. For years, their frontman was a guy named Gaal. He was a terrifying presence. With his face painted in corpse paint and a stare that could freeze water, he was voted the most evil man in rock by some magazines. He took the music and the philosophy very seriously. Because of this terrifying image, nobody really asked about his dating life. It was just assumed he was too busy summoning darkness to care about romance. But behind the scenes, Gaal was just a man looking for a partner. In 2008, it was revealed that he was in a relationship with a fashion agent. The black metal community is known for being pretty closed-minded sometimes, so people were worried about the backlash. Surprisingly, the backlash never really came. Gaal was so respected and so genuinely scary that nobody dared to say anything bad to his face. When asked about it, he simply said that his enemies had already made up their minds about him, so this changed nothing. He proved that you can be a grim, serious metal musician and still be gay. It shattered the stereotype that gay men had to be soft or pop-oriented. Gaal conquered the extreme underground. But our next rocker is a modern queen of hard rock who screams like a banshee and has a very open heart when it comes to who she loves. 5. Lzzy Hale. Halestorm is one of the biggest modern hard rock bands in the world. Leading the charge is Lzzy Hale. She plays guitar and sings with a power that reminds people of the classic rock legends. She has won a Grammy and toured with everyone from Alice Cooper to Evanescence. Lzzy has always been an icon for female empowerment in a male-dominated scene. She writes songs about being strong, wild, and independent. For a long time, fans speculated about her personal life. She kept things pretty low-key, but social media changed the game. Lzzy is very active on Twitter and Instagram, interacting with her fans constantly. Over the years, she started dropping hints. She would talk about finding women attractive or supporting pride events with extra enthusiasm. Then she made it clear she identified as bisexual. She did not make a huge press conference about it. She just let it be a natural part of who she is. She has spoken about how she falls in love with the spirit of a person, not their gender. This openness has made her a hero to thousands of young rock fans who see themselves in her. She shows that you can wear 4-inch heels, shred on a Gibson Explorer, and love whoever you want. Lizzie is a modern icon, but there is a new band that burst onto the scene sounding exactly like the classic giants of the 70s. Their singer has a voice that is almost identical to a young Robert Plant, and he recently made a brave announcement. 6. Josh Kiska. Greta Van Fleet took the world by storm. People could not believe that 4 young guys from Michigan could make music that sounded like it came straight out of 1975. Their singer, Josh Kiska, has a wail that fits perfectly with big stadium rock. They sold out arenas and won awards before they were even in their mid-20s. With that level of fame comes a lot of attention on your private life. Now for the first few years of the band's explosion, Josh kept his life very private. He focused purely on the music and the retro aesthetic. But the political climate in Tennessee, where he was living, started to change. He saw laws being passed that he felt were hurting the LGBTQ community. He realized he could not stay silent anymore. He felt a responsibility to use his platform. In 2023, Josh posted a message on Instagram. He revealed that he had been in a loving same-gender relationship for the past 8 years. He shared this to show solidarity with those who were fighting for their rights. It was a shock to many casual fans, but the core fan bases flooded him with love. It was a brave move to risk alienating conservative fans, but Josh put his heart first. Josh represents the new school of classic rock, but our next artist comes from the punk and anarcho-metal world. Her story involves a much bigger transformation than just coming out, and she did it all while fronting a major band. 7. Laura Jane Grace. Against Me is a band that started in the gritty punk basements of Florida. Their sound is aggressive, fast, and full of shouting. The lead singer, originally known as Tom Gable, was an angry young man screaming about politics and society. The band got huge, signing to a major label and touring the world. But inside, the singer was dealing with a massive disconnect. For her entire life, she felt like she was in the wrong body. This is a condition known as gender dysphoria. In the macho world of punk and rock, this was a terrifying thing to admit. But the pressure became too much. In 2012, she made the courageous decision to transition. She announced to the world that she was Laura Jane Grace. She was not going to quit the band. She was not going to hide. She was going to continue fronting Against Me as a woman. The response was overwhelming. It was a historic moment for rock music. Laura released an album called Transgender Dysphoria Blues that dealt with her feelings in a raw and heavy way. It is considered a modern classic. She showed that punk rock is about being yourself, no matter what society says. She kept her edge, her anger, and her talent, and she became a pioneer. Laura broke down doors for transgender people in punk, but over in the alternative metal scene, another singer from a famous 90s band was going through a very similar journey around the same time. 8. Mina Caputo Life of Agony is a band that mixes hardcore, metal, and alternative rock. They came out of the New York scene in the 90s with a sound that was heavy and emotional. Their debut album, River Runs Red, is legendary. The vocals were deep and baritone, sung by Keith Caputo. The band had a very tough, streetwise image. Their fans were hardcore kids who liked to mosh. But much like Laura, the singer of Life of Agony was hiding a true self. In 2011, she came out as transgender and began living as Mina Caputo. This was a huge deal in the hardcore scene. This is a scene that can be very masculine and aggressive. People wondered how the fans would react. Would they accept the voice of their favorite angry anthems presenting as a woman? The answer was a resounding yes. When Life of Agony returned to the stage, the fans were there. Mina brought a new energy to her performance. She was happier, more free, and that translated into the music. She proved that the metal family is tighter than people think. It is about the music and the emotion, not the gender of the person holding the microphone. Mina found acceptance in the hardcore scene, but our next artist has been a warrior for gay rights from day one. She leads a new metal band that is known for being ferocious, and she has never once apologized for who she is. 9. Otep Shamaya. In the early 2000s, a genre called nu metal was taking over. It was loud, bouncy, and very male-dominated. Then came Otep. The band, named after their singer Otep Shamaya, was a different beast. Otep is a poet, an artist, and a screamer who can sound like a demon one second and a spoken word artist the next. Her live shows are intense rituals of energy. From the very beginning, Otep was openly lesbian. She did not hide it. In fact, she put it right in her lyrics. She wrote songs fighting against homophobia and standing up for the outcast. She used her stage as a pulpit to preach about equality. In a time when using gay slurs was unfortunately common in rock music, Otep was fighting back physically and lyrically. She has faced a lot of hate for her stance, but she feeds off it. She turns that negativity into fuel for her heavy music. She has become a cult icon for queer metalheads who needed someone to look up to. She showed that you can be a woman, be gay, and still be the most aggressive person in the room. Otep is loud and proud, but sometimes the most extreme music hides the quietest transitions. Our next guitarist plays in a grindcore band, a genre that is faster and noisier than anything else, and her story remained a secret for years. 10. Marissa Martinez. Cretin is a band that plays grindcore. If you have never heard grindcore, imagine heavy metal played at triple speed with vocals that sound like monsters. It is not for the faint of heart. Marissa Martinez was the guitarist and vocalist for this extreme band. For a long time, she was known as a male in the underground metal scene. She helped build a reputation for the band as one of the best in the genre. But behind the wall of noise, Marissa was struggling with her identity. She knew she was a woman. The extreme metal underground is a very male space, full of beards and black t-shirts. She was terrified that coming out would ruin the band and that her friends would abandon her. In 2008, she finally took the step. She announced her transition. To her surprise, the grindcore community, which looks so scary from the outside, was incredibly supportive. It turns out that people who listen to music that sounds like a chainsaw are actually pretty. Open-minded, Marissa continued to shred on guitar and scream her lungs out, just as she always had. She proved that extreme metal has room for everyone. Marissa conquered the underground, but our next star conquered the radio. He is the front man of a band that went from hardcore punk to goth rock superstars, and his look has inspired a million haircuts. 11. Davey Havok. AFI is a band that has changed a lot over the years. They started as a fast hardcore band and morphed into a goth punk stadium act. The one constant has been their singer, Davey Havok. Davey is known for his incredible style. He wears makeup, long eyelashes, and outfits that blur the lines between masculine and feminine. He is a vegan straight-edge icon who has never touched alcohol or substances. For years, people have speculated about Davey. His lyrics are poetic and often deal with longing and dark romance. He has a very androgynous vibe that appeals to everyone. While he generally dislikes labels, he has been open about his fluidity. He does not like to be put in a box. In interviews, he has expressed that his attraction is not limited by gender. Davey represents a modern way of looking at things. He does not feel the need to make a big declaration because his entire existence is a statement. He challenges what a rock frontman should look like. He brings a glamour and a mystery to heavy music that has made him a heartthrob for people of all orientations. Davey is a goth icon. but the next guitarist on our list comes from the emo explosion that took over the world in the mid-2000s. He played in one of the biggest bands of that era, and his coming out was a quiet confirmation of what fans had hoped for. 12. Frank Iero. My Chemical Romance was not just a band, it was a movement. They brought emo and punk to the mainstream and saved a lot of lives with their music. Standing to the right of the singer Gerard Way was the rhythm guitarist, Frank Iero. He was the ball of energy, running around the stage and throwing his body into the music. Frank was a favorite among the fans for his passion and his punk rock attitude. Fans of the band always analyzed every lyric and every interview. They noticed that Frank was very open-minded and supportive of the LGBTQ community. Over the years, Frank has been open about his gender. He has worn shirts supporting rights and has spoken in interviews about being bisexual. He has always been a champion for the underdog. Frank's honesty helped a generation of emo kids feel safe. When you see your hero playing guitar in a massive stadium while being openly himself, it gives you courage. Frank has continued to make heavy, noisy music in his solo projects. But he shows always keeping that punk spirit alive. Frank came from the emo scene, but our next star is one of the biggest punk rockers in history. He fronts a band that has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he has been telling us who he is since the 90s. 13. Billie Joe Armstrong Green Day is a household name. You know the songs like Basket Case and American Idiot. The man singing them, Billie Joe Armstrong, is a punk legend. He has the spiky hair, the eyeliner, and the attitude. But many casual fans who sing along to his hits on the radio do not realize that Billie Joe has been out for a very long time. Way back in a 1995 interview with a magazine called The Advocate, Billie Joe said clearly that he is bisexual. He talked about how he thinks everyone is born with the ability to love same genders, but society teaches us it is wrong. This was the mid-90s, a time when this was a very bold thing to say for a mainstream rock star. Throughout his career, he has explored these themes in his songs. Tracks like Coming Clean are about his confusion and realization of his gender as a teenager. Billie Joe has never backed down from this. He continues to be an icon who proves that being queer is punk rock. It is about rebellion and being true to yourself. Billie Joe is a massive star, but the music world is always evolving. Our next artist is a unique voice in the indie metal world who uses raw screaming and soft melodies to tell a very personal story. 14. Ezra Furman. Ezra Furman is a bit of a shapeshifter. Her music mixes doo-wop, punk, and heavy, raw screaming. It is intense and emotional. Ezra has gained a lot of fame recently for doing the soundtrack to the hit show S Education, but her journey in rock has been a long one of self-discovery. Ezra came out as a transgender woman and uses she/her pronouns. Before that, she identified as non-binary. Her music is full of the struggle and the beauty of that transition. She brings a very heavy punk energy to her live shows. She screams with a passion that reminds you of the old-school grunge bands. Ezra is also an observant Jewish person, and she talks a lot about how her faith and her identity work together. It is a unique perspective in the rock world. She shows that heavy music can be smart, spiritual, and deeply queer all at once. Ezra mixes genres, but our next artist completely destroys them. She is a producer and singer who has worked with giants like Kanye West and Bjork, and her own music is a metallic industrial assault on the ears. 15. Arca. If you want to hear what the future of heavy music sounds like, you have to listen to Arca. She is a Venezuelan artist who defies easy description. Her music uses the sounds of metal, clanging hammers, distorted screams, and heavy bass, but arranges them in a way that sounds like electronic music from another planet. It is disturbing, beautiful, and heavy. Arca is a trans woman who uses her body and her music to challenge everyone's ideas of beauty. Her music videos are often shocking and full of intense imagery. She has become a fashion icon and a muse for other artists. While she might not play a traditional guitar, her spirit is pure metal. She is aggressive, uncompromising, and creates art that makes you uncomfortable in the best way. She has brought a queer Latinx perspective to the world of industrial and heavy experimental music. She proves that heaviness is not just about a guitar amp. It is about the texture of the sound and the weight of the emotion. Arca is avant-garde, but our next band plays a style of metal called doom, which is slow, crushing, and heavy as lead. The singer uses this heavy backdrop to explore her own identity and past trauma. 16. King Woman. King Woman is a band that sounds like a thunderstorm. The guitars are tuned low and the drums are slow and pounding. This is doom metal. The voice floating over this heavy music belongs to Chris Esfandiari. She is a powerful vocalist who created the band to deal with her past. Chris grew up in a very strict religious household, which she later described as a cult. Breaking away from that was a huge part of her journey. She identifies as queer and uses her music to heal from the trauma of her childhood. The name King Woman itself is a statement about gender and power. Her live performances are almost like exorcisms. She throws herself into the crowd and screams her truth. In a genre like doom metal, which is often dominated by dudes with beards nodding their heads, Chris brings a vital, feminine, and queer energy that makes the music feel dangerous again. King Woman is slow and heavy, but our next act brings the darkness to the dance floor. They are part of a scene called Dark Wave, which mixes the gloom of goth with the pulse of synthesizers, and they have a serious metal edge. 17. Boy Harsher. Boy Harsher is a duo that has taken the underground by storm. Their music is dark, gritty, and perfect for a late-night drive or a smoky club. It sits right on the edge of industrial and electronic rock. The vocalist, Jay Matthews, has a haunting style that draws you in. Jay identifies as queer, and that sense of longing and desire permeates their music. While they use synths instead of guitars, the attitude is undeniably heavy. Their songs are about obsession, pain, and the darker side of love. They fit perfectly on a playlist next to 9 Inch Nails or Ministry. They represent a new wave of heavy music that is moving away from the traditional rock band setup, but keeping the darkness and the intensity. Jay's presence as a queer frontwoman in this dark electronic world is inspiring a whole new generation of goths and metalheads to pick up synthesizers. Boy Harsher brings the synth heaviness, but our next artist uses her voice as a weapon. She is classically trained, but she uses that training to create some of the most terrifying and heavy noise music ever recorded. 18. Lingua Ignota. If you think heavy metal is intense, you have not heard Lingua Ignota. This was the project of Kristen Hayter. She is a classically trained musician who can sing like an angel, but she chooses to scream like a demon. Her music is a mix of opera, noise, and death industrial. It is terrifyingly heavy. Kristen's work is all about survival. She deals with themes of abuse and trauma. She is openly bisexual and gender non-conforming in her presentation. Her albums are concept records that feel like going through a war. She uses biblical language and fire and brimstone imagery to tell her story. She has gained a massive following in the metal community because she is undeniably heavier than most bands with 5 members. She proves that one person with a piano and a distortion pedal can be the heaviest thing on earth. She is a survivor and a queer icon in the extreme music scene. Lingua ignota is scary heavy, but our next artist takes the aesthetic of metal, the witches, the fire, the darkness, and mixes it with catchy pop hooks. She is a self-made star who directs her own videos and tells her own story. 19. Zolita. Zolita is a fascinating artist. She is a singer-songwriter who loves to play with the imagery of the occult and witchcraft. Her videos often feature dark magic, cults, and gothic fashion. It is the visual language of metal applied to alt-pop music. Zolita is an openly lesbian artist. In fact, almost all of her songs and videos are about relationships between women. She got tired of seeing music videos where the girl is just a prop for the guy, so she started making her own where women are the main characters and the love interests. She brings a rock and roll attitude to her career. She is independent and fierce. She represents a crossover where the aesthetic of heavy music, the darkness and the rebellion meets the storytelling of queer pop. She is proof that the metal look belongs to everyone. Zolita brings the visual flair, but our final band is a powerhouse in the alternative rock scene. They have toured with huge metal acts and hold their own with a sound that is big, atmospheric, and led by a true star. 20. PVRIS. Pronounced Paris, this band is a force in the alternative rock world. They mix rock instruments with electronic textures to create a massive sound. The leader of the band is Lynn Gunn. She is a multi-instrumentalist who plays guitar, keys, and drums. She also has a voice that can be smooth or gritty depending on the song. Lynn Gunn is openly gay and has been a role model for young fans since the band started. She has spoken about how important it was for her to see Tegan and Sarah when she was growing up, and now she wants to be that person for the next generation. PVRIS has a dark, moody aesthetic that fits right in with the heavy crowd. Lynn is cool, confident, and incredibly talented. She proves that you can be the front woman of a heavy rock band and be open about your gender without it being a gimmick. It is just who she is. And that is the perfect way to end our list. From Rob Halford hiding in the 70s to Lynn Gunn shining in the 2020s, heavy music has come a long way. The leather and the studs are for everyone.